Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coach Replay Show. I'm your host this week, Corey Camp. And today I have somebody who, if you've been a fan of our show, subscribing to our show, she's not anyone new to you. But if you're new here, I'll have her take a moment to introduce herself. I got Cathy Ferguson with us. I'm so excited about our topic. So before we dive into that, Cathy, just let everyone know a little bit about yourself and introduce us with your beautiful accent, because you know that's one of the things I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hello, and thank you for having me on the show. I love conversations with Corey, and my only problem is we invariably run out of time. So I'm Cathy Ferguson. I'm a chartered psychologist and a leadership consultant. I work in leadership development in many industries, education, and gosh, I was about to list them all, but recently I've been working with pharma, with biotech, with finance companies, with charities, public sector, private sector. What stays the same is the content and the connection with people. So I am based in the UK, but I travel all over the world. And I have two beautiful daughters who are now 23 and 21, shockingly, and a husband and 3 dogs and 4 cats and 2 horses, and a whole bunch of chickens and geese. So yes, I do live in the countryside. And
and a beautiful countryside garden as well. I know last time we met, I was just gawking at all the beautiful scenery around you. Yeah.
So blessed.
Yeah. So Cathy, this month is all about, on the Coach Replay Show, this month and next month, empowering teachers. And, you know, we talk about a lot of different things on the Coach Replay Show. Kim and I work a lot with coaches on different models of coaching, I love to kind of tiptoe between this balance of having the structure and being very organic, being able to utilize tools and strategies to kind of knock the walls off the box of coaching and really be able to meet our coachees or our clients where they are. And so this is why I'm so excited for your topic today, as you talk about kind of coaching up close, the human side, the personal side of coaching, and where we might even need to let go a little bit of that structure that some of us like to kind of hold so dearly too. So get us started. Talk to us a little bit about this approach.
Yeah, and a little bit of structure goes a long way, doesn't it, Corey? I mean, coaching frameworks are really helpful in bringing some purposeful guidance to the conversation and the coaching journey. You know, a logical step-by-step plan to move forward. The original definition of coaching, as most of us will know, is taken from the stagecoach, getting valued people from where they are to where they want to be. And any coaching model, whether it's Grow or Oscar or Clear or there are many of them, but they all share this idea of, here you are, what will it take to move you to here, by clarifying relevant behaviours and also looking at is the issue motivation or ability. So when the context is relatively stable, those work really well, and they always have done. Particularly, I think, if you're new to coaching, and it's comforting, isn't it, to have a framework to work within. The challenge is, I think, that I've seen, Corey, 2 things. One is the context increasingly isn't stable. We face new challenges, unknowns. We just can't see what's coming down the track. And that creates a lot of uncertainty and anxiety for our brains, which can create low trust. I mean, let's face it, if your brain is busy dealing with anxiety, whether real or perceived threat, it's very hard to engage in learning new things. We're fending all that off. So we have to think about that. How might we refresh our look at coaching when there are so many unknowns? The second thing is, I've been coaching for 30 years, and I know I can do things now that I couldn't do when I'd been coaching for 1 year or 2 years or even 5 years. So as we develop as coaches and get a depth of insight and experience, what can we do that we perhaps haven't been able to do when we were sticking to the model? And this is the point I think you quite rightly make, that there comes a time when we need to be confident enough to move away from a systematic focus and anchoring in the model that we're using, whichever it is, to a more kind of pliable, flexible, exploratory approach. And both of those approaches are about empowering teachers. It's kind of an idea of around figuring out which is the right conversation to be in order to help our people get to where they need to be. And when the uncertainty context is high, I think that means helping people to shore up more of the inner challenges of self-belief, being anchored in our own values, accessing our inner confidence, stepping into helpful mindsets, and so on. So I've been playing with, and you know, Corey, it's not complete yet. It's still a kind of a work in progress. And as I was saying earlier, if it sounds like complete, as we in England would say, piffle and twaddle, you must tell me it's not working. But it's my way of trying to make sense of where can I find my feet on the path as a coach in terms of kind of conversation I want to be in, and the kind of questions I want to ask, and how closely I want to stay with a framework or move away from it. So I've been talking a lot there, but does any of that resonate with you in terms of sort of your recent experience?
It does. I mean, as I said, Kim, my co-host, and I, we do a lot of coach training. We typically don't work with brand new coaches. We've got another service in our company that does that, and they provide that very structured approach. We come in where you've had a year or two under your belt, you've got a general structure in mind. Now let's learn how to be more situational in our coaching. And what you brought to mind, I think, is something that is the reason we hear coaches are coming to us, programs are coming to us more, because they are finding that level of uncertainty, that level of anxiety is having an impact in their coaching. The focusing just on the content, focusing just on the strategies can only get them so far. They're finding that because there's so much happening with their clients or their coachees that they need to bring some of those other aspects in there. Their people are in that. It reminds me of Amy Edmondson's work on psychological safety.
Oh, she's great, isn't she?
And Timothy Clark also does it as well, right? Where they talk about the different, you've got your, are they in that learning zone or the anxiety zone?
Yeah.
Both of those kind of are on the higher end, but one of them is where they're just kind of stricken with so much anxiety from the uncertainty that they don't feel. And sometimes that, like, I can provide models for strategies and plan with the teacher, but if there is something holding them back, and they are on personal side, that psychological side, they don't have the confidence. I've got to employ some other tools that aren't always instructional. So I love it.
That's exactly it. We do love a 2x2 model and the 4 quadrants, and I'm visualizing Amy Edmondson's kind of apathy, comfort zone, learning zone, anxiety zone. And I think it's a great way to give ourselves a mental holding place for where we might be. But I do think we have to be careful not to get into this conflation of that with, okay, there are 4 different ways of coaching depending on your experience and the level of change, right? It's more like there's a bag of tricks, and what do we need in the moment? And I wonder, if it's worth thinking as coaches what kind of qualities we need, what kind of skills we need, because traditionally, and we know from research and from client feedback, the qualities that people value in a coach are pretty consistent. They're things like empathy, listening, understanding, trust, candor, things like challenging and linking and helping people to reframe and refocus, all empowering stuff, right? And also sharing subject matter expertise, of course, where it's relevant and appropriate. But I think in the context of moving from a more predictable to a less predictable, more uncertain environment, arguably we need additional qualities, like particularly, I think, noticing, sense making, helping people to understand what it is that they're going on with, like connectedness, helping people to look for what the signals in the noise are. There's a lot of noise out there. So what's signal, what's noise? Uncovering the tensions and the paradoxes, not just in the environment they face, but also in themselves, in their own beliefs and expectations, and how those beliefs and expectations and inner dialogue shaping the choices that they see. It's perhaps more of a vision-led approach than an outcomes-led approach. So yeah, the model I've been playing with is this. So over to the left, you've got nothing is ever certain, right? We can't predict the future, but lower levels of complexity, uncertainty, and all of the emotion, whether it's anxiety or trust issues or self-protectiveness or defensiveness or not wanting to speak up. So if you're working over on that side, whether your expertise is low or high, it makes sense to stay quite closely tethered to a framework. You want I think it helps to have a focused kind of approach. And things like the GROW model are perfect for that. But the more we move over to the right-hand side, where the complexity and uncertainty is higher, I think the more we need to not only pay attention to the human as opposed to the skills and the environment and the process, but also to get more exploratory rather than coaching down to action. Most coaching models do close down to action, don't they? It's in their nature. Where are you? Where do you want to be? How do we get you there? It's like open the pyramid, open the diamond, close the conversational diamond down. But over on the right hand side, we don't know what's coming down. We're climbing a ladder and we're asked to put our feet on the steps and we don't even know where the ladder goes. So there's a different approach here. And you mentioned Amy Edmondson. I love her. Another person who's super helpful here is Tara Brach. I don't know if you know her work.
I don't.
It's more drawn from meditation, reflective practice, and she has a great acronym called RAIN, which is about recognizing, acknowledging, investigating, and nurturing. So if you're, for instance, in a leadership team and you're being invited to take on a more senior role in your school and you're having a little bit of imposter syndrome feeling and there's no path to success, that recognizing and acknowledging and investigating and nurturing is going to be much more empowering than, the more structured, what's your goal, what's the reality, what are your options, right, what's the way forward. And just to that vertical axis, briefly, I think it's a big ask for a brand new coach to go into that flexible place and drop the rules behind. But certainly towards the top of this diagram, we're looking at being more pliable, more flexible, and at the bottom, staying with the more systematic approach. Because I do believe as a new coach, you can still work in the space of complexity and uncertainty. You just need to be systematic in the framework and perhaps ask different sorts of questions, like what's changed since you began this project and what does that allow for, as opposed to what outcomes you want and what's stopping you. So I'm conscious time's against us, and that's kind of where I'm at, getting into conversation with our clients. And one thing I do wonder is whether we ask them enough about where they're at. If you just want to flip to slide 3 briefly, on this complexity and uncertainty, how would I differentiate the bottom quadrant of exploring and questioning from the top quadrant of noticing and personalizing? Well, I think when you are working with anybody and helping to empower them, there are these 3 levels of what matters to me and what do I hold dear personally, what matters and what must I hold dear in the role I'm playing, and what matters and must I hold dear in terms of our organisation, our own values and culture. Values run through those. And I suppose just as the final sentence to share with you how I see this, if you're in the top quadrant, lots of experience in the context of lots of emotion, I would say lots of uncertainty, start with the personal and move through to the organisational. Help people figure out how their personal values, their personal purpose, what really matters to them, how their job can be a conduit to do more of that so that they deliver for the school, the campus, the organisation that they're part of. And if you're in the bottom right quadrant where you're less experienced, it's probably arguably safer to come the other way around. Start with why this organisation exists, what you're trying to do, what your role is in this school or campus or university, and then come to what are your personal values and how do they play in.
And what I love about this is the hard part about this kind of more personal approach to coaching is it can feel difficult to apply, to know where to apply. Like it makes sense, it makes sense in the frame of things. Yes. But what I love about this is you provide, with especially these quadrants, you provide some ways to identify where am I and what's the best starting place for me and what are some things I can begin to use. So for me, it's very action and application based, which I love.
I think that's right. Where do you start? And you can go anywhere and you can come back. You can kind of
and you can always come back and try to get, because I know there have been times when I've tried the deeper, more kind of going back to the more person, the higher level complexity and uncertainty and anxiety, and try to do some of those higher level strategies. I've fallen flat on my face, right? I didn't feel comfortable with me, and my clients kind of looking at me like, did you really just ask me on a scale of 1 to 10 to rate my however well I am? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that didn't work.
It's got to be right for you and right for them. Right. And I wonder.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't read the situation right. So I love this work. I will include these visuals that you've got here and
on that, Corey, if you just very briefly go to slide 4 in the deck I shared, because one of the things we often don't do as coaches is to us is I think you'll probably need to click more on that to reveal what's in those boxes. There you go. So one of the things I do when I'm working with teams, whether teams of teachers or individual contributors or leaders, is to say, you guys need to know what matters to each other, and you can't read minds. Trying to read people, read the room, that is darn hard work. So one of the things we could do really simply is, before we even start coaching, ask someone to complete a simple template like this. How do you work? So if you were coaching me, Corey, I'd say how I work. I need to talk. I like to think. I need to feel safe. What do you need to know about me to coach me? Challenge me. Don't make it easy. Make it hard, but don't make it mean. So do this, don't do that. And this is like, if I took 5 minutes to tell you as my coach, here's what matters to me. Here's how I work. I'm sharing with you my values, sharing with you how to help me shine, how to get the best from me. And then that allows you, doesn't it, to find your feet, find on the path, at least in terms of the starting point. It gives you a sort of frame of reference for where the point of entry is that feels great for you and great for me. And that's I think the solution to what you were describing, which we've all been there, haven't we? That
we have
feeling, this isn't working as I thought it was going to be. And I don't know any coaches who use a simple template like this. I've seen it used a lot in teaming conversations and that sort of thing, but rarely in coaching. Why not? We could blend some of the questions on complexity and uncertainty and what's known and unknown in your world in. That would help us a lot, right? However experienced we are as coaches, we can always raise our own game. So I'm interested in all of this from the point of view of helping to develop us. I've been doing this 30 years, and I hope in the next 5 years I'm going to become even better. We always want to go from gold to platinum, don't we? If we like
that's right. Well, I have no doubt that I think this work definitely resonates with me, and I can think of some coaches that I work with and peer coach with that would find the same thing. So let us know, audience, how do you, this is the big reveal. How does this resonate with you in your coaching? Is there something Cathy shared today that you might try out? Do you have a question for Cathy that can help her further think and develop as she thinks about this kind of up close and personal coaching model and kind of bringing in this piece? So share with us in the comments, or feel free to email us at learn@sibme.com. If you download the notes and takeaways or access them, you don't have to download them. You can just view them online. You'll find Cathy's info as well if you want to reach out to her. Cathy, I know we'll have you back on.
But it's been a real pleasure, and please do reach out, anyone. And if you have, critiques. I love a bit of critical rigor. So if you're saying, hey, something's missing here, or why don't you mention this? Bring it. Let's have the heated debate. That's what we're all here for, right?
Yeah. Bring it on. All right. Well, Cathy, thank you so much. Everyone, be sure to continue to tune in as we talk about how we can empower our teachers and ourselves by growing our skills here on the Coach Replay Show for the rest of this month and into next month. Cathy, we'll have you back on again. Hopefully this season we'll find a spot for you. So
I would love that. Be safe, be happy, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.